Yeah, and another leader that we've been able to see on the sidelines is Caitlin Clark.
Yeah.
She's such a competitive player. It's, obviously her season ended due to injury, but you can clearly see on the sidelines that she wants to play. She wants to be on the court. What has it been like watching her handle being sidelined and like working through the recovery part this season?
Well, look, I continue to be impressed with her work ethic. I mean, she is somebody who's in the gym all the time. She works incredibly hard. She's a perfectionist. She doesn't take plays off. And, for a player like her, I can imagine it's very frustrating to be in a situation where you're not on the floor.
All right, this is pretty unbelievable. Caitlin Clark might not be suiting up right now, but Stephanie White just unloaded some major truths that prove her influence is still everywhere. In a recent interview, White laid it all out, making it clear that Clark's impact on the Indiana Fever hasn't disappeared just because she's not on the floor. And let me tell you, this wasn't the usual safe, cliche-filled coach talk. It was honest, bold, and a huge reality check for anyone who assumed Clark was quietly fading into the background while she recovered. So now the real question is, has Caitlin Clark actually been more valuable on the sidelines than anyone expected? Let's dig into it, because what Stephanie White revealed about her star guard is going to keep people talking for a long time. Remember, this is the same coach who took Indiana from the bottom of the standings to legitimate playoff contention. And instead of sticking to vague answers, she practically shouted from the rooftops that Clark's influence is written all over this team's rise, even while injured. And here's the kicker. This wasn't some flashy ESPN interview or primetime feature. It was a laid-back podcast, the kind of place where most coaches keep things surface level. But White didn't hold back. She said exactly what fans needed to hear. Caitlin Clark isn't just a scorer. She's the heartbeat of a culture shift. Even in street clothes, she's helping transform the Fever into a stronger team.
By talking about how Caitlin Clark has handled being sidelined. And I do think that, again, this is an important thing. It is important to know how players are, players do hold being sidelined, how players just are going to react to different situations. Because I do think Caitlin Clark is a player that is important and a player that's unbelievably important to this Fever team, even off the floor. Because let's be real, none of this happens without Caitlin. There's no Steph White if Caitlin Clark isn't there. There's no, there's absolutely no, Steph White. There's no Kelsey Mitchell coming back. There's no Gamebridge filling out arenas. None of this happens without Caitlin Clark.
This blows up one of the weakest narratives floating around online. Ever since Clark went down with a groin injury, critics have been pushing the idea that the Fever might be more balanced without her. Balanced, really? Balanced Hauber with more losses? More empty seats? More games where broadcasters are begging people to watch? Because that's what would happen. Stephanie White made sure everyone remembered the truth. Caitlin Clark's presence is the glue keeping this entire team together. Take her away, and the cracks would show immediately.
Where you're not on the floor. She loves to compete. She loves to play. She loves this team. She loves her teammates. And it's been a roller coaster. I mean, as someone who's had multiple injuries, I can say that it's hard being away from the team, and it's hard not doing what you love to do. But what I've absolutely been so proud of her for is her continuing to pour into her teammates. I mean, she is the number one cheerleader on the sideline. She continues to be engaged in everything that we do, talking to her teammates, communicating what she sees to them, communicating what she sees to us, being a cheerleader for them, talking in huddles. It sucks when you're not able to play, but you also can gain a different perspective.
Here's where things start to get even more interesting. White revealed that Clark has taken on the role of the team's ultimate sideline leader. Sure, that might sound a little cheesy at first, but think about it. She's just 22, in only her second year, and coming off a brutal physical and mental stretch. Most players in that position would check out. They'd sulk. They'd complain. But Clark? She's built differently. She's pulling teammates into huddles. She's calling out reads. She's pointing out key adjustments. She's basically coaching from the bench in sneakers. And honestly, That's kind of
You know,
amazing.
see it a little bit more from a coach's perspective, from a coach's point of view. And you know, I don't doubt that Caitlin Clark is always hungry, but you are hungrier when you're not able to participate. And I think this season, you know, has she's regained a new perspective, a different perspective. We have been able to watch her navigate that in the classy, mature way that she does everything else. And I have just continued to be impressed by how she pours into and leads this team.
Because that level of dedication is rare. Let's not pretend the WNBA has been all sunshine for Caitlin. The tension around her has been obvious from day one. Some veterans roll their eyes at the media circus. Others resent how much attention she gets, and plenty are tired of how much space she takes up in every conversation. But none of that has slowed her down. White made it clear Caitlin is always in the gym. Injury or not, she's still chasing perfection. She's still putting in the work. She's still refusing to cut corners, and that's the part so many people miss. They see her in sweats on the bench and assume she's disconnected, but that couldn't be further from the truth. She's still impacting games, just in a different way, and that's why White's comments hit so hard. They weren't fluff. They were public proof that Clark isn't just a marketing tool. She's a professional through and through. Section 5, let's zoom out for a second. Remember when the Fever were basically irrelevant? You could walk into Gainbridge Fieldhouse and hear the ball bounce louder than the fans. Kelsey Mitchell was quietly putting up numbers. Lexi Hull was hustling for rebounds no one cared about. The team was an afterthought. Then Caitlin Clark showed up. Suddenly the lights got brighter. Suddenly people started paying attention. Of course Stephanie White sees that. That's why her comments carried so much weight. Sure, she talked about Clark's leadership, maturity, and positivity, but beneath all of that, she was sending a bigger message. None of this happens without Caitlin. The sold-out arenas? That's Clark. The surge in TV ratings? Clark again. The renewed excitement around Indiana basketball? Still Clark. And White isn't trying to hide that. Why would she? Just look at how other coaches handle these situations. Becky Hammon? Always shifting the spotlight. Cheryl Reeve? Always talking about her system. But Stephanie White? She openly said Caitlin Clark is changing the game, even when she's not playing. And in a league where many still hesitate to give her credit, that kind of honesty is refreshing. Section 6, of course, the internet's reaction was predictable. Within minutes of the interview dropping, critics were twisting themselves into knots. She's just saying that because she has to. Really? Since when do coaches heap praise on injured players who aren't contributing? Exactly, they don't. White said it because it's the truth. Leadership isn't something you can fake. And Clark's influence on the team's focus, energy, and rhythm is impossible to deny. White also hinted at something deeper. Watching from the bench has sharpened Clark's understanding of the game. When you're forced to sit, you see things differently. Slower, clearer, almost like a coach. Most players never get that perspective. When Clark returns, she won't just bring her trademark fire. She'll bring a new, elevated vision of the game, and that should terrify every defense in the league. Section 7, and here's the irony. Imagine being one of those critics yelling all year that Clark can't defend or Clark is overrated. Now, her own coach is saying she's essentially running a second unit from the sidelines with her brain and her voice. That's not hype, that's leadership. And if she's showing that kind of command at just 22, the rest of the league better get ready for the next decade. Another standout moment from the interview was White's comment on Clark's hunger. She said Clark is even hungrier now. And that's not just talk. Anyone who's been injured knows how tough it is to sit and watch. But Clark has turned that frustration into fuel, pouring it into leadership, positivity, and full support for her team. White basically confirmed what Fever fans already knew. When Caitlin Clark comes back, she's going to be unstoppable. And let's be clear, and nobody's pretending she's flawless. This isn't about painting her as perfect. It's about acknowledging that her leadership and influence go far beyond the box score. So, if there was ever any doubt about Caitlin Clark's importance to the Indiana Fever, this interview erased it. She's not just shaping plays from the sidelines, she's shaping the entire future of this franchise. And when she's finally back on the court, it won't just be a comeback. It'll be a statement. Thanks for sticking with us to the end. If you're hyped for Clark's return, drop a cow in the comments and share your predictions for her comeback season. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss the biggest stories shaping the WNBA. Until next time, stay tuned, stay sharp, and get ready, because the best is still to come.